Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Mark Doxey, Ranty Flat Earth, and Arwin. How are you all doing, gentlemen?
Good afternoon.
Good
How you
afternoon.
go, folks? How you going?
Doing
Not
good.
bad, not bad at all.
I'm a little bit hoarse today.
Little
What we're
bit
doing on the
hoarse?
radio earlier, it's like
Yeah, we were on
Rain.
TFR earlier. Very exciting.
indeed.
What happened? I missed it.
Nathan,
Well, we just talked about the hijacking of perspective, and to keep it as concise as I can, although you've got plenty of time to do it, I might as well do it in as concise way as I possibly can. What we have discovered in the last two shows, or what we've presented, not discovered, let's be a bit more accurate, is the fact that when you make an observation, when you take a picture with a camera, there are only 2 points involved. You, the observer, your eyes, the camera, whatever, and the target. And in that scenario, like when you open your eyes or look at anything in the world ever, you have to take into account perspective. That is, there is an angular size reduction with distance. Things in the distance get smaller. Perspective. Now that is an absolute fact of life and very real and true as you look at things and take pictures of things. Now what the Globeheads need is something to steal that is malleable enough to convince people its curvature. And what they have done is stolen perspective. They've completely hijacked perspective. And the way they have done it isn't as clever as I once thought. What they've actually done is, instead of that 2-point scenario, you, the viewer, and the target, the mountain, 1,000-foot mountain in the distance, they put you once removed from that scenario. So like yesterday when Ruhiv had his pictures up on screen, and when Wiggles has his pictures up on screen, and when Rumpus has his pictures up on screen, they're all presented in orthographic view. And what that means is you are looking at the viewer. You can see a little man on the 2D screen in front of you. And that little man and the target are therefore equidistant from your new observation point, removed from the observation itself. And the purpose of this is to keep all of the items that you are viewing in a uniform size. They do not decrease relative to their distance. They remain at 1,000 foot if it's a 1,000-foot mountain. So they can then remove the perspective element from the observation, which gives them lots of room to insert curvature maths. Way! Well, the curvature maths, obviously, given that they have hijacked perspective, does not account for perspective. It can't. It's replacing it with nonsense maths telling you you're on a curved Earth. In reality, as you look with your 2 points, not 3, in perspective view, you see items getting smaller and then converging with the horizon. The exact point that a globehead would tell you something's disappearing over the curve of the Earth is the vanishing point when you only have 2 positions, the observer and the target. Their introduction of a 3rd position gives them enough wiggle room to bullshit people into believing with mathematics and a presupposition of an R value that they are on a curved Earth. And they're not. We have simple perspective and nothing more. So there you
Even
go.
with
That's what
that
we're on
nonsense that
TFR
they
to
put
explain.
forward, Ranty's beaten them so many times with his distance photographs.
Yep, just straight line of sight.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
what I see.
if I can go down every single day, which I do, and film Barrow in Furnace every single day, it kind of shits on the curvature math. Because they should have, that wall of water should always be curving. If we believe in the NASA images, which shows a spherical Earth, and underneath we're supposed to believe that the rock is testicle shaped, then essentially all water must conform to the curvature calcs. I'm proving with my observations that it doesn't at all. Doesn't matter how far I go away, I can still see. Obviously, there's going to come a point when I won't be able to see, but I think my furthest distance at the moment is about 27 miles, and I've seen these buildings that should be, what, I think the calcs are like 400 feet, and these buildings are only 157, 167 feet tall, so yeah, it's utter horse manure to believe the ball.
Yeah, I mean, to put this into useful terms for anybody who might join the debate or find themselves debating with somebody who puts a curve calculator up, you only need to say to them, this does not account for perspective, something that is absolutely a part of our everyday world. Things do get smaller in the distance, and their calculations do not account for it.
Alan B wants to know why he's not on a thumbnail.
Because Alan B isn't you. Alan Bennett might be famous, but he has nothing to do with this show. Alan B.
Ruhif's back in. Oh, actually, Ruhif apologised to me on my channel after he insulted me yesterday. So I accept his apology, seeing as he was drunk.
Alan B, if you want to be on there, then you have to show your real face.
No, he doesn't. Doesn't have to do anything. You're not the boss of him. But yeah, it's a dark, dark day for Globeheads. Their arguments are slowly falling apart at the seams. All credit to Ranty for absolutely exposing this. I'm going to mirror that section from Debate 177. It's at about the hour and 30-minute mark. But yeah, Ranty smashed this wide open a couple of months ago. Taboo Conspiracy's done the same. Dr. Zach's done the same. Jaren's done the same. There's a few people who have at least banged this drum once before. But it'd be nice to continue. Hey, No Globe. Good to have you.
Hey Nathan, how's it going?
Not bad.
Not bad.
Mute your watch page, my friend.
What was that?
We can hear your watch page in the background.
Ah,
Or your speakers or whatever.
yeah. Give me a second here.
Yeah, it'd be good to have this drum banged continually so that people never forget that their mathematics doesn't account for the very real and obvious observable fact that perspective does play in our everyday life without exception. So yeah, it'd be nice to bang this drum a few more times.
It's amazing how your show's adapted from its origins when it was full of the ball of trolls that used to come in, and they always had their beliefs that they'd had for 2 years, and their arguments always held a lot of sway back then. What we're finding now is that through dissecting these arguments one after the other,
How's that? So I was listening to 260 when the F-bomb dropped and all that good stuff. So orthographic views, I don't think. I mean, you can see it from an x-axis, but I mean, like Nathan says, everything in life is a fact of life. Everything's perspective. I mean, even when you draw, you can't draw without perspective. There has to be a point of view. You can avoid it. So if you're going to show something, you got to show it in scale. You just got to show the scale.
Yeah, I mean, what the Rumpus said was the mathematical formula is not a viewing function. Well, make that make sense in your head. What they're calculating isn't for what we're seeing. So if they're not
Yeah,
calculating
exactly.
a viewing function, what are you doing? Oh, you're removing yourself from the actual viewing operation so that you can keep all the numbers nice and high, so that you could have got plenty of wiggle room to insert an earth curve.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I understand the angles, but the angles may be right, but you have to show them in perspective in conjunction with the angles to show exactly how it works. Because when I draw like surreal things, I always look for point of views, you know, where pretty much all the lines intersect at that point. Here we go.
Yeah, maybe it'll be one of those shows. We battered the living daylights out of these Globeheads. No one can potentially come on at all and present anything to do with Earth curve or a formula that does actually take into account perspective. So they'll just troll us. So this might be the show to say, so be it. There'll be another one tomorrow. There'll be another one in an hour. Who cares? You know, just wasting your own time.
Just listen. You take a picture of anything, you can draw the perspective lines. I mean, I've done it before. So perspective is. Some people say there's no law of perspective or rule. I think it's just a fact of life, whether it's a rule or fact. I mean, it's always present. It's never not present. Orthographic views look theoretical, in my opinion.
Right, you can't have an orthographic view of life. You only ever have you and the thing you're observing at that third position that they give you. So that third position isn't a possibility to see. As soon as you move to that position, you're doing the same. You've got you as the observer and the target still. That's it. You know, you never get to get an orthographic view. It's only been done that way so that they can remove you from the observation. And when they do, you end up with all of the orthographic pictures that we're shown, like by Ruhif. He's saying, look, this is how perspective works, and all of his lines are the same size. So it means he can basically bullshit the people in the audience to thinking that it's acceptable to have all of the items measured at the same size, their actual size, as opposed to their relative size, with an angular change, which is what we see, which is what we capture when we press a click button on a camera. When you press that shutter, you get an angular change. Hey, Nummy. Hey, who else we got? Is that No Globe just putting his camera on? Yes, it is. So, hey, Nummy. Good to have you.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning from Chicago. We're 8:12. Ugh.
Yeah, we were on TFR earlier, Nummy.
Sorry?
We were on TFR. Always exciting.
Oh, really? Cool.
Telling people how they've stolen perspective, the bastards.
They hijacked it.
We want it back. Give us our perspective back.
Oh, they can't steal something that's always present.
Yeah, they can just rearrange it and relabel it. That's all they can do.
Gregor, hello.
Hello, Vitali.
Hello, hello.
Good to have you.
Vitali. These people get paid for this?
They're just amusing themselves because they
Jeez.
can't argue. They've got no debate with us anymore. You know, if they want to insert the R value and say, oh, well, it was proved 2,000 years ago with sticks and shadows, you know, it doesn't wash. So all they can do is troll. You know, that's the best defense they've got at the moment to slightly disrupt the show.
Trolling is like pure ignorance.
They don't realise we're actually doing them a favour, but they're so indoctrinated that they don't understand it.
Right.
Or they won't allow themselves to do it. Constant dissonance.
They like being indoctrinated.
Don't take
Yeah,
I
my
don't
ball
know
away.
why. Wouldn't you rather know the truth? Wouldn't you rather know what's really going on as opposed to a fictitious spinning globe? I mean, it's evidently.
So yeah, fun.
Where's
Fun.
Arwen?
There's
I,
a got a fair size audience. If a few members of the audience can join, it will stop the
Arwen,
trolls
what's
being
up?
able to fill the panel. So yeah,
Not just keeping a.
yeah, be helpful if we had a few placeholders from the audience.
the dirty air and TFR as Marmite.
Yeah, I saw that. The obstruction, formerly
So,
known as curve.
yeah, so the Globers, they love that Marmite. They love that dirty. And us, we detest the Marmite because it stops us from seeing through stuff and seeing at long distance unless you get underneath it. And that's what we have been doing as well with our observations. So
What, getting underneath the Marmite? That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, Ranty.
The nail in the coffin is the fact that water doesn't curve. Period. I mean,
oh yeah,
that's the nail in the coffin. I mean,
You gotta
when
be
left
careful with your...
unmanipulated, you just can't.
Long distance straight line of sight. That's the
Can't
real.
just say
You know,
water
and it's
doesn't
funny because
curve.
Ruhif
Water does curve.
Rampaging Rumpus over here always.
You can say all sorts of things about water, but you can't just say water doesn't curve. You have to put a few caveats in there. So water at rest does not curve. Water
left
at rest
unmanipulated, yeah.
fills its container. It will flow to find its level. Yeah? But water can bend, for sure.
No.
It can do all sorts of crazy things. It can
I
slant,
mean,
it can bend, it
I've
can
seen it
form into
before,
circles.
like maybe like a balloon next to like a faucet. I've seen,
Oh.
but the one being tampered with. I mean, the fact that we could see bodies of water so still, it looks like glass. I mean, how is that?
I sent you an image, Nathan. If you want to put that on screen for a little bit.
Yeah, I'll have a go.
Trolls,
I'm dropping a few frames for some reason.
suck
My
that
internet rubbishy connection. Annoying. But there we go. Such is life.
No, just sitting here.
Oh, my phone's about to
It's
die.
not come through. Can you? Oh yes, it has. Here we go. Load it up.
What type is this, people? Someone name it. Type.
Type what?
Type. Got juice. So
Oh, I don't know. I've been out in the sunshine. It's glorious. It's really nice. Yeah, I've been enjoyed the
Raw
sunshine. How
stuff.
about you?
Yeah, pop that image up, Nate.
Just loading.
show
I don't know why
everyone
I've got a
what-
slow connection at the moment.
Oh,
Let's
you've
see
got
if
no
it's loaded.
connection.
That, and I'm trying to keep an eye on the mute button. So yeah, I can't do it, Ranty. I'm just gonna have to try and keep my finger on the mute button. So if you can display it, I've got it up on screen so I can see it. But if you can present it,
Alan B,
Hey,
how
Alan.
are we today?
Hey, Riley.
hey Riley, hey Alan.
Sleeping.
Right. Get out.
Oh, I like that jingle.
Sorry, I didn't realise it's come through.
Had a trolley start to the show.
I wonder why that might be.
Because we're battering the hell out of them, destroying their
How
globe
many listeners?
fantasy.
Was it like 30,000 listeners or something?
Something like that. I don't think it's 30,000, but yeah, I think they get. I think the last time we were on, we had a couple of thousand, maybe. Unless you know different.
I'm not sure how many viewers it was, but or listeners it was, but yeah, I didn't realise it was gone 2 o'clock. I was mowing lawn because the grass is growing quicker than I can grow. Than I can.
DJ Owen, Silent J.
What I'll do is, if there's anybody that can join in chat, please do so.
Can you pop yourself on mute? No, Globe. You're causing a whole load of racket in the background.
So, Alan, are you still 100% sure that we live on the globe? Or maybe like 98.5?
Still 100% yes.
You can't.
How can you possibly be 100% certain?
You can only be negative.
Yeah, you can't be 100% certain on it on account of the fact that we're debunking it left, right, and centre, Alan.
You're not debunking anything. You're just wasting your time.
Oh, really?
So Alan believes that water curves. That's show me.
Water at rest. Yeah.
Water is shapeless, formless. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup.
Comes the cup.
You put water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash.
Yeah, you said it right.
Water, my friend.
Everybody loves Bruce Lee.
You said crash just like them too.
Bruce Lee.
Oh man, his English is great.
P, on a serious note, do you understand the point that we've been making for the last couple of days about perspective and maths?
I think it's ridiculous that you're gonna say because the curvature calculator doesn't take into angular perspective, right? Is that that's just a ridiculous argument.
So if the Earth was flat, P, would you agree that as an object goes further
why don't
from
you
the
just
observer?
prove the Earth is flat? Why do you have to have a stupid argument?
P,
What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Go on the street and be like, "Hey, random person on the street, did you know the curvature calculator doesn't take into account angular perspective? Holy crap, the Earth is flat."
That's exactly right.
They're gonna look at me like I'm a total idiot.
No,
yes, they are.
Indoctrinating people.
Normal person is gonna no. You guys are indoctrinated into the flat Earth fantasy bias. It's all propaganda, all lies. You have to come up with the most ridiculous arguments. You can't just prove the Earth is flat with an observation.
We're not
All we need is a simple all you need to do is produce a simple observation to prove the Earth is flat.
Yeah, all of them.
Just trying to use a big word because you're dumb.
No, it's called
get
long
thesaurus,
distance.
Dude. If you want to sound smart, get a thesaurus and
straight
open the
line of
thesaurus.
sight.
God,
long distance straight line of sight.
Really? So glow people just yell? That's all they do? Is just yell? Because they're mad that we're stealing the ball from them?
You complete, utter trash people. No one should give you the freaking time of day. You're absolute garbage.
You just said produce flat Earth proof. Long distance straight line of sight.
What a grim day.
Long distance straight line of sight. Can't happen on the globe.
Can't.
You don't sound.
It can happen on a globe. Everything can happen on a globe. Nothing can happen on the flat Earth. Give me a break.
Hold on. You've got your picture up, Ranty. Do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, put the picture up. Oh, by the way, how's it going, Pete?
You guys are like the boy who cried wolf, right? I won't even look at any of your evidence because every time you claim something and I check it,
can you keep them till after?
What's your evidence of R? What's your evidence of R?
No, I'm just telling you the way it is. You guys can
just
keep
asked us
producing
to show you
crap
one image.
evidence to the point where no one's gonna even listen to you.
You got steam coming out your ears. Just calm down. You've asked us
he's pretty triggered.
Hold on, no.
Pete, come on.
Hold on.
Pete, let me just ask you 2 questions, and then I promise I'll drop and you can wail and scream and stuff. Just give me 2 honest answers. If we live on a flat plane, would you agree that logically and reasonably it makes sense that an object shrinks as it goes further away from you? Yeah.
Yes.
So
it happens on a sphere too.
If we're on a sphere, it makes sense that it would. If we live on a sphere, it makes sense that it would get smaller as it goes away from you, but also drop behind the curve. Correct?
Is that a pimple?
Yep.
And that's the only difference between the two.
It's
on a plane it would shrink, but on a ball it would shrink and drop. But
I'm not stupid about science. So.
Sure, but the maths doesn't. Would you agree that the maths doesn't address?
I can read though.
Would you agree that the maths for the metabunk curve calculator doesn't address the angular size reduction because the objects are getting smaller, but we don't see that in the maths?
I don't know anything about math. I know
okay,
poker
math. It's fine. If you don't get it, it's fine. Because most people, I don't think a lot of people will get it. But those that do get it realize that it's a slam dunk. And if you don't get it, it's fine. I just wanted to ask what your position was.
I have a picture of the sphere, so I don't really care about curvature calculations. That's for silly flat Earth people.
Remember, it's pear shaped, Pete. It's pear shaped.
Whatever. Should be the shape of my pimples.
Anyway, so back to your pictures, Ranty. They're up on screen. The audience can see them.
Do you want me to pop one on my webcam?
No, thank you. P, can you just pay attention? You've asked for an
I
observation.
would.
Now we've got
I
one.
think me popping a pimple would probably be more entertaining than you guys having a conversation.
Okay.
You're showing your true colours here,
I
Pete.
bet I could get more views on YouTube if I just put videos up of me popping pimples than
We're
than
doing
you
what you've
guys.
asked. You've asked us for a single observation, and there's a single observation on screen now, right? So either you're being disingenuous by asking, or you're just here to waste time.
Do you guys want to make a bet that I can get more views popping pimples?
So you are just here to waste time.
Because that's actually kind of a popular category of internet
It is.
So
videos.
go and do it. Go on then.
Yeah,
can you
I
do
saw
a
someone
video
last night,
where you
actually.
lose
People are
150
interested in
bucks playing
freak
poker?
People would rather watch someone pop pimples than play poker.
Right, you
Telling
get
you,
about
it's
3
a big
people
thing.
watching your show. There's 121 people here. You've asked this audience for an observation that proves flat Earth. Ranty's got something up on screen now. You want to talk about bursting pimples. What's your problem?
I have bad skin. What? You got any
not your-
advice on how
not your-
to get better
Not
skin?
your skin problem.
Lots of water. Drink lots of water.
What's your mental malfunction?
Lots of them.
You do make me laugh, though. I've got to admit.
I don't know, man. Like, I guess when I was totally ignorant of how science works, I would maybe be a victim to flat Earth propaganda. But then I started, listening to what the other side says, and what they says makes sense, and what you guys say is just
Can you
Yeah,
tell me
so
what-
you're just a
so it
troll
makes
now.
sense,
but is there
You're just a
proof? Is
troll
there
now. You're not
scientific
here
proof?
to debate.
Well, no,
I have
hang
to
on.
jump
Can you
down
help
his
us sort
throat.
flat Earth
Fine.
areas?
The other guys make more sense than we do. That's fine. Some of the things we say are quite complicated, and some of the things they say can be put on a child's mobile above their bed. So, yeah.
Well, I'm just a poor flat earther and don't understand this. So, PMARS, help
Nathan's
me
on a
out.
roll.
How is this town visible when all of it should be on the curve? And how is all these buildings visible when it should be on the curve? And how come we're seeing down to the sand dunes from a distance of 18 miles at an elevation of 1 foot? Please help me out. What would the ball earthers say? Because nobody has got an answer for this at the moment. And we've been asking this question for 3 weeks. How come we're seeing this rock that's in the water that's been visible at a different location that I've actually evidenced? How come we're seeing this at a distance of 18 miles?
Yeah, answer that.
Oh, you can see
Shoreline to
it.
shoreline.
You can see it because you can see it.
Because it's flat.
It's called straight line of sight.
I don't think that's evidence of a flat Earth.
Yeah, straight.
Do you think on this
line
line
of sight.
just that the
Punch
water
in your
can see it-
maps.
you
and
can
see
see
how
it
much
on
you're
the
actually
Flat,
supposed
not
to see.
curved line of sight. Straight
Punch
line
in the
of
maps
sight.
that you believe in so much, Pete.
I don't do math.
There's no
Oh,
math to
but
do.
math-
This is
math represents,
visually
reality
obvious.
for you guys,
Hold
no?
on, no globe. So I'm trying to reason with you, P. It's visually obvious. He's standing at the water. He's a foot above the water, and on the other shore, there's these buildings. On the shore, you can even see the shore itself. So how can you say this isn't a proof of flat Earth when it's just there's a flat body of water with buildings on the other side? I don't really get it.
I mean, I don't even care about Ranty's image at all because I've seen you guys show images of the distance, and that you can see that things are obstructed by the curve very clearly. So I mean, you guys have just shown a bunch of globe Earth evidence. This
Can
whole
we have a
time.
Where's the
baller
curve
that
on this?
actually wants to have a discussion,
Hold on.
not
So
just get in
what's
the way?
obstructing? What's being obstructed, P? Do you want to go to the clock? Can you go to the clock, Ranty?
It doesn't matter if nothing's
Hold on,
being
P.
obstructed
I'm just
in that
asking
picture,
a question of you.
because there are
There's
multiple
in the
pictures of
background.
things
It's
obviously
18 miles away. I'm trying to just establish with you what you think's going on here. Is the
How
clock
can the
obscured?
horizon obstruct anything
Not
if it's
obstruct
just the vanishing point?
That's the point. It's not obstructing it, but in your
No,
world
but
it
does
should.
in other pictures.
So why can we see this clock, P? If
Possible
there's-
reasons.
I mean, like obstruction happens, right? And I don't think
Except
I
when
don't
it-
think if the horizon is the vanishing point, it makes sense that the horizon should obstruct anything ever. You know what I'm saying?
No.
But that's the obvious.
Okay, numbskull.
That's what we're showing you,
No,
P. We're
so-
showing you 18 miles of flatness. There's no obstruction. There's nothing blocking the view. There's no drop. There's no hump. There's no nothing globe related in this image.
Well, you mentioned the obstruction at the horizon, and I just want to ask you, because this was a later image, which one should we use, Nate?
You're a bit quiet, Ranty.
All right, okay. How about this one? Because there we can see the obstruction, and we're actually underneath the obstruction this time. So that building is exactly how it looks down to the floor. There's the sand dunes, but the obstruction is happening here on the roof. And because I've gone so low on the observation, we've actually gone to a foot in elevation. We're actually getting underneath this refraction zone, this dirty air that's causing the obstruction at your horizon. You can actually see it, the mirroring effect taking place here. Everything that's low down, it's not being affected.
Anything, P? Anything at all?
There is
He doesn't
plenty
care
more
about
evidence
pictures.
if
He
you'd
cares
like.
about maths.
We could present more evidence if you'd like, if you need more evidence. I mean, I've got a great clip of Tim showing a hyena on a patch of land in the foreground that's big enough to obscure the land in the background that he thinks is curved. Ranty's got it too. Perhaps Ranty'd like to present it, but Ranty, turn up your mic.
I've got some flat building outside. Can you hear that?
No, it's all right. We'd rather just, even if there is a bit of background, that's fine. I've had to turn you up absolute maximum on the Hangout because you're so quiet.
All right. Well, I was lowering my mic down so you didn't get the feedback of that noise outside.
See, this picture can't happen on a flat Earth. That
The picture.
have here.
Oh, sorry.
rock
When did
is-
you
Because
take this picture?
you can clearly
water.
see that the Earth is a sphere. We have pictures of the Earth that we've taken
I can
from
actually
space.
simulate waves.
So, I mean, like, you can show me a bunch of pictures of a horizon or objects in the distance, but I've got pictures of the sphere Earth from space.
Oh my god! Did you
Where's the
just say
stars?
that?
This
Did you just say
trumps
that, Pete?
Where's the stars?
this trumps all evidence you've
Where's the
ever
stars?
presented.
You're kidding, right?
Where's the
No,
stars?
this absolutely destroys all the
Where's the
evidence
stars,
you guys
Pete?
have ever presented.
Where's the
Kidding me,
stars?
right?
No,
Where
I'm
are
not
the
kidding.
stars,
Are you
Pete?
kidding?
Oh,
Are you kidding me? You're
Where
kidding
are
me
the
telling me
stars,
Earth is
Pete?
flat?
Where are the stars, Pete?
I'm a
Yeah,
star.
where are the stars, Pete?
We're all flat
Oh.
Earth stars.
Where are the stars, Pete?
We are the flat Earth stars of flat Earth
Pete,
Hollywood.
serious, stop
Where
trolling.
are the stars in this picture?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ah,
You don't know.
nice CGI, by the way.
Your picture is CGI.
Well, you know what? Both Africa and Australia should be visible.
Why are there no birds
isn't
in your
Australia visible?
picture? Why are there no? Where are the birds, Ranty? Looks like CGI to me. I don't see any birds. If it was a real picture, there'd clearly be birds. Debunked. Anyways, I have this picture of the sphere Earth here. You
That's
you
not a
would be able
picture.
to see birds, but it's taken from outer space, and due to angular size,
I've got a
you
human.
can't see the birds. They won't. I don't think they.
If the
Yeah,
Earth
but
was a
stars
ball,
are
resolution in my
giant
camera.
balls of light,
So-
aren't they?
okay,
They're
can I
in
just-
the
can I say
sun,
something
so
fast?
they should
Can I
be
just
seen
ask P
from
a
any
quick question,
distance.
Arwen? Sorry to interrupt you, Arwen. So, P, do you see the black bit all around the Earth? See the black area surrounding Earth? That's a vacuum, right?
That's the vacuum of space. It
Vacuums.
sucks up our atmosphere.
So,
okay, you're trolling now.
It sucks up our atmosphere. Yeah, that's right. So why are we breathing air?
how come the air's still on it?
Because the atmosphere is constantly being replenished by flat earthers breathing.
Wow. And is that enough to keep it out of the
were full-blown
vacuum?
So how much gas is being produced then constantly
Flat earthers
to compensate for the
breathe.
entire vacuum of space sucking up all the air constantly?
The flat earthers have to breathe through their mouth, which
How
creates
long before the
more
entire universe is
atmosphere
going to be
than if
filled
you-
up with air?
If you breathe through your nose,
So just once again, I didn't really understand your answer, P. So you see this cloud, right? You've got this cloud, and it's right next to a vacuum. So why isn't this cloud being sucked off the planet? I don't really get it.
it's probably CGI.
I think you're
Real
right. It's probably
clouds,
just
I like
CGI.
witness clouds being sucked.
Probably
into the
just
vacuum of
CGI.
space.
You're right.
Really.
Probably
Yeah,
just
CGI is proof of the globe, man.
You can paint
Come
anything.
on.
You could paint it with a fire background, couldn't you? And just say that the Earth repels fire, right? Whereas in this instance, it repels a vacuum. Okay.
What's this?
I seen this flat earther with the CGI image, and he said you could see this object that was like 200 miles away, but it had to be CGI because you can't see that far in the atmosphere. You know what I'm saying?
You obviously haven't seen the world record photography page, right?
Is it over 200 miles?
Yeah, about
Well, hang on.
250.
NASA show us images of the Earth from 300,000 miles away or something
Yeah.
ridiculous. So is that not a world record?
Your
Or are
picture
they
you just
lying
had
too?
up contradicted that piece, so yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but that's not through the atmosphere.
No, the atmosphere
Hey,
is
can I say
magically
something
saying
real fast?
stuck to the Earth even though it's right next to a vacuum, right, P?
No, the atmosphere it's being sucked into space, and it's also it's being flung because we're spinning. So it's like the Earth is
So it's
flinging
spinning.
the atmosphere.
I can't take Pete serious.
Wow, amazing.
Dude, we're
just can't.
spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah, shush. Can you hear
Wiggles in
that?
chat
Can
is
you hear
actually
that?
Can you hear that sound
That's
of
the
1,000
sonic
mile an
boom.
hour
That's
spin?
a sonic boom as we travel at 1,000 miles an hour.
We just went Mach 3 there.
Seriously,
Getting a bit
P.
sick.
Why doesn't the cloud get sucked off into space?
It does.
Really? I'm just looking outside at my clouds and they look absolutely static. They don't look like they're moving at all. They don't look like they've been sucked off into space. But yeah, they're
I've
next to a
seen 'em.
vacuum, are they? Those clouds that I can see through my window. They're next to a vacuum, you say?
There's
Have
a
you
lot of
heard of
things that-
space clouds?
No, I'm looking at
Space
real
clouds.
clouds, the ones out my window that aren't getting sucked off into space. The vacuum that you
cloud-
think the
like
black bit
clouds
is,
all
More
over
the
CGI.
bit without any stars,
More CGI.
right?
There's all these cloud in space that they get sucked off our atmosphere and they go out into space.
Those
and
are
they
all
form
fake.
these space clouds.
Wow.
Oh, aren't those
So
pretty?
how long
Fake.
before the entire
no-
universe is going to be a giant cloud?
If you Google image search space clouds, you can see all the space clouds.
Sure you can.
Looks
Okay,
pretty.
P.
So
Great
they-
argument. These are really pretty.
Yeah, never
I mean,
mind.
they are.
Never mind that a gas can only exist with a pressure source.
Exactly. Where's my container?
Well, you saw the picture. There was no container. It's magic. It's Velcro. Atmosphere Velcro.
They're being
wish.
contained by the pressure of being on Nathan's panel.
Yeah, the pressure of this panel keeps Earth's atmosphere next to a
Why
vacuum.
doesn't
It's
just
magic.
NASA just shut us up? They can listen. If the Earth was a ball, NASA can prove it, right?
Keeps the atmosphere trolly.
Yeah, he is.
So why aren't the clouds being sucked off, P?
Well, there's a Himawari satellite that's constantly taking pictures of the Earth,
That doesn't sound like you're answering the question.
and they're like,
Sure doesn't.
Man,
What's
I suppose I'll just have to accept the picture and accept that clouds don't get sucked off into this vacuum of black.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and Pete, about the satellite you just mentioned, we actually dealt with that in the show before. I took a look, and the clouds on all the pictures were exactly the same. So the entire atmosphere in that world that is being photographed by the satellite is completely static, just
That's a
like
great
a
movie.
skin on a 3D model.
So Alwyn, check this out. So when you come into an argument, you can't come with like proclivities and stuff like that, like just pre-assumptions. Like they come in with assuming that it's a globe. They come in assuming there's an R. They come in assuming all these things that they can't prove. While we come in, we have nothing. We don't assume anything, and we just observe. They don't do that.
Yep.
They just go with their maps and their CGI space and everything sticks so pretty. Look at the
well,
colors.
what observation tells you the Earth is flat?
We had it
Straight
up on
lines
screen a
up.
minute ago. So Ranty showed you an image of 18 miles that was completely flat from shore to shore. We showed it you, and you told us how curve obstructed things. Then we asked you where the curve was obstructing that image, and you just went silent.
But there's other image where the horizon obstructs buildings and mountains and shorelines, and
No, what we see is the effect of perspective. Things get smaller into the distance and then converge at the vanishing point. Unfortunately, that very real fact of life, the point you came in and said we were stupid to assert, is not accounted for in the curve maths. So where you think things are being obscured by a horizon, they are actually converging at the vanishing point, P.
Okay, but do you have any flat Earth evidence?
That was it. That was me declaring a very real fact of life that you were taught in about 5th grade. That things converge at the vanishing point. Objects in the distance get smaller. Yeah? That's a very real fact of life that everybody understands and accepts. And yet, it is not accounted for when you bullshit the world into thinking they have a curved Earth that things converge into. So why is it the boats... I'm going to start asking this question of Globeheads. Why do boats converge at the horizon? Because they're not going over any bloody curve, but they definitely go into the vanishing point. We all know there's a vanishing point. R, on the other hand, has no scientific backing, P. R is just a fantasy. R, the radius value, is a myth, a 2,000-year-old myth with no evidence to back it. We definitely know we have a vanishing point, though, and that's where things converge. The horizon, shock horror.
Hey,
How do you debunk all the observations about that
Like
prove?
what?
Yeah, we will. We'll run them through their own calculations, P. So what we'll do is we'll take any observation that previously has been claimed to prove Earth curve obstruction, and we'll run it through with an angular size change and see how it works out. And we will undoubtedly find that you are Fucked.
Anyways, Pete, let me ask you a question. You play any games? You play video games?
Yeah, I used to more so.
Cool. And so we're in a video game, right? There's a big world map and stuff like that. And the way we see it in a video game is the same observation we have in real life. But in video games, they don't use a globe, they use a flat plane.
Yep. All of them.
Explain that. Because if you actually put it on a globe, it doesn't work.
Well, it could work, but it makes you sick. They tried
Yeah,
it.
it makes you sick, and it will have to be a much bigger globe so that you wouldn't even see, like, but still, it just doesn't work.
I've witnessed someone take Soundly's image and then mathematically map it on a globe, and it fits perfectly. And then if you like,
Yeah,
it doesn't
that's
fit.
that one little patch of very extreme curvature on that specific position that proves that
The
it's
one
globe,
guy
yeah.
whose observations perfectly match a 3D model of the globe.
I mean,
that happened.
the amount of evidence that Glober side has given me is beyond convincing. Like they have completely satisfied any question I had. And you guys have given me like some crazy crap about angular size and a curve calculation that no one in their right mind, like I could never explain that to anyone on the street. I can.
It's because you're dumb. That's all right. That's because you're dumb. It's got nothing to do with us. We're at a slightly more advanced level than you, P. That's all it means. Just because you couldn't explain this to a man on the street doesn't mean anything. I've only just managed to wrap my tongue around it so I could explain it on a radio show earlier, and I've had to go through it mentally several times to be able to do that. Not being able to convey something to next man doesn't mean it's invalid. Just means you're dumb.
No, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Nathan,
it just means you're dumb.
No, Nathan, listen to me, Nathan. If I were to go up to someone on the street and try to convince them the earth is flat, they would have to basically just...
Don't go up to people on the street and try and convince them the earth is flat. That's their business. Everyone's belief is their own, P. You don't have to go out eulogizing about the earth and its obvious flatness.
Completely trust my opinion about the flat earth because I wouldn't be able to provide no evidence or no...
Seen it. It's all flat and I've seen it. Don't need to eulogize about it. I know it's flat, but that's me and I'm only concerned with me. Yeah, if you want to believe it's a ball, P, that's your prerogative. You can believe whatever the hell you like.
Right. But why do you expect someone to believe your opinion just because you tell them it is so?
I don't. Don't believe me. I don't care if you disbelieve what I state very assertively, that co-opting angular size change does not create a curved Earth. Don't believe me. Don't care.
I don't want to just believe something because someone told me to believe it. You know, like I want to.
I'm not telling you to believe me.
Yet you're doing it anyway.
No, when I find the information for myself, I find that it's a sphere, but then you guys tell me it's flat. So Like, but then you give me nothing, no evidence to go on.
Obviously and observably flat. We show you images and you say you don't care about them, P. So where are we supposed to go from there? And when you bring up a painting of an Earth that's got apparently a vacuum next to an Earth that's a pressurized system with gases spinning around on it, yet the clouds don't get sucked off. You're prepared to accept that, but you're not prepared to accept a photo from Ranty that's been taken 2 days ago.
I accept Ranty's photo of the sphere Earth. Ranty produces photos of the sphere Earth. It's great. But, like, I just want one observation that the Earth is flat.
Every time Ranty produces an image, he's showing just how flat the Earth really is. I don't know why you would want to assert that Ranty's going out and gathering pictures of the sphere. The only way you can ever assume that it's a sphere is by inserting a presuppositional value of R, and there's no scientific evidence for it, P.
Proclivity.
But there's lots of observations.
I think that PMAR should be shown a yellow card here because he's just cited that Ranty shows
How about just a red card?
Be at Earth, and I don't think that's true at all, and I think he should be punished for it.
Yes,
Punished for what?
I would rather you guys quit me than I quit you guys. I enjoy this. You guys trying to deceive me, manipulate me, and lie to me. I really enjoy this.
So, Pete,
I've said loads of times you don't care if you believe us.
Do you recant your statement that Ranty shows pictures of a sphere Earth, Pete?
Absolutely not. Ranty has produced some of the best sphere evidence today.
All right. So, do you agree then an object on a flat plane will reduce in size over distance?
Sure.
And do you agree that if it were a sphere, it would reduce in size and drop?
And I mean, whatever. Sure.
And there's nothing in the maths that supports the reduction in size, but there is an appearance of the drop element, and Ranty has not shown any evidence whatsoever of a sphere. And if you won't retract that statement, Nathan, would you support my decision to eject him on the basis of lies because he knows that there's no curve or bump?
Hey guys,
I'm being lied to.
if the Earth is a ball, why is my pizza flat?
This is it, Pete. You know you're just trolling us.
Well,
This guy just said if the Earth is a ball, then why is my pizza flat? You're calling
It was a
me
joke.
troll? Well, that's pretty much the extent, like, of evidence I have to, like, go to people, be like, hey, you should believe the Earth is flat because look, in video games, the Earth is flat in video games. So,
well, yeah, that's
obviously,
exactly why.
that's a really good reason to think the Earth is flat.
Why-
also,
why do you want to
pilots
be
don't
that
show-
why?
Pilots,
They
pilots
could
don't
make it
tip their
into a ball in
nose.
video games. Do you know why they make it flat?
Hey, man.
I told my girlfriend last
Because
night.
that looks more real.
I
And
said,
if they
Exactly.
turn it into a ball, it
represents
made
reality.
people sick while playing it.
I told
That's
my
why
girlfriend
they make it
last
flat
night.
because it looks more real that
I
way.
told my girlfriend
And
last
it
night.
represents
Is there any
reality.
evidence
I
of
was
that?
like, these people think the Earth is flat because, like, when airplanes fly, the pilot doesn't dip his nose around the curve.
Exactly.
What's your
And she,
evidence?
like,
hold on.
laughed,
What's your evidence
she's
for
like,
that? I
"Wow,
want some
why do you talk
evidence.
to
I
these
don't believe you,
mentally
P.
ill
I don't
people?"
believe you. What's your evidence?
We're not ill.
She told me, like, she's like, you're wasting your time talking to these mentally ill people on
What's
YouTube.
your evidence?
But I told her it's fun. Like, it's like a freak show circus.
No, I just don't believe this. I'm not going to accept that you've got a girlfriend.
That was great. Where's your evidence of this?
Burned.
Where's your calculations? Huh? Where's your meta book?
I have a
Not a
CGI
monk,
photograph of her.
You have a CGI program.
You just said,
You sure she's not a robot?
Yeah, she's pretty hot too,
Yeah, anime usually is.
and she makes bad decisions. So I'm with her.
Yeah, well, that's the worst decision.
This is awesome. Alan, you're so quiet. Say something.
What do you want to know?
Wow, Jesus, you're loud.
Yeah, you take over, Alan. I'm tired.
No, you do it. I don't want to.
I don't want to do it either.
Do you not feel
Nate,
slightly
could you tell-
deceived, Alan?
I want to try and just turn him one last time, see if he'll become a flat earther again. Talk about PMARs here.
Yeah, I was actually a flat earther. I
What's
used to
this? Another
argue
out of focus picture again?
It could be. It's quite well. Firstly, can you actually see anything over there above the water? Can you actually even see anything? Because
Yes.
there is actually a mountain there, and right at the very bottom there's some buildings that should be beyond the curve. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my camera on that little rock there that's about 2 inches above the actual water. Right? And then I'm going to look across at these buildings that should be beyond the curve. So here I am, lowering my camera down now, just showing you where I am. There's me placing it on the rock. So come on, P-Mars, you're watching this now, you want some evidence. So here we are looking in. You will see these buildings on the left that I'm coming into. They should be beyond the curve. These ones here. Wait for it to focus.
Smudge.
Smudge. It is smudge at the minute, but it will focus.
Blur.
Notice how I'm looking over these waves from an elevation of 2 inches. So are these waves less than 2 inches, or am I actually looking up as opposed to down beyond the curve?
Camera not straight.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's kind of tricky when you're trying to look at from 2 inches. So yes, these buildings here, we know what these buildings are. We've seen them many times. They should all be beyond the curve, right? The PMARS. This is the sort of evidence you're looking for.
That's evidence of a sphere to me.
Yeah, where's
Looks like a
the
sphere.
beach? Where's the bottom of the
There's no
buildings?
beach.
It's
See
all
those-
behind the curve, all of
See
it.
the
You
waves?
can't see anything. You can
And then
just.
this is all right. This is good because there's waves splashing up in front of him. He's pointed it out, and now they're all just ignoring the fact that we have this thing called perspective, right? Which means that very small things like an inch-high wave in the foreground can obscure a massive thing that has reduced in angular size in the background. Do you understand this, Alan? Because it seems like we are dealing with a lot of perspective denial.
No, Nathan.
You don't understand.
This
I'll explain it again, Alan. A very small thing like a wave in the foreground, even if it's only an inch high, can obscure something that has reduced in angular size in the background. That is called perspective. Something you globeheads seem to have omitted from your calculations.
the calculation doesn't need it.
Yes, as demonstrated on screen right now. And when you look out at the world every minute of every day, and every single photograph ever taken in history ever has to account for the very real fact that objects in the distance get smaller. Their angular size reduces, meaning that these waves in the foreground can obscure very big buildings in the background. See, the thing is, Alan, on TFR earlier, I had to explain the scene in Father Ted. Are you
Who's
familiar
the guy
with
making
Father?
all the noise? Learn to mute, you idiot.
Are you familiar with Father Ted, Alan?
Oh, you're going to do the cow sketch that I just...
Right, the cow sketch where he has to explain to a complete idiot in words of one syllable that things that are close to you and small can appear the same size as things that are far away and big. So how big of a retard are you, Alan? Have I got to explain it
Well,
a
why are
third
you
time?
repeating
Hold
my
on,
joke?
I'm asking
Why
you
are
a
you
question.
repeating my
Have
joke?
I
Who's the
got to
idiot?
explain this to you, a retard, a third time, or are you going to assert again that it's not required?
It's not required on the curve
See?
calculator.
It's not required on the curve calculator, but it is required when you account for things in the distance being smaller, i.e. when you are trying to cross-reference, for instance, a photograph, like we so often do with the curve calculator, Alan. So my question now changes. Why is it that when we compare photographs, as is so often the case, with the Metabunk calculator, nobody, and I do mean nobody, has converted and accounted for the angular size change? Why would that be, Alan?
Because it's not needed.
It is needed. I'll say it again for Dougal, the retard from Father Ted, currently played by Alan B., who is clearly completely stupid. I'll say it again. If I have a cow that is a toy and 1 inch in height, I can hold it up next to a real cow in the distance and have them appear the same size, Alan. This is a function of life known as perspective, also known as angular size reduction at distance. It is a fact of life that we learn in about the 5th grade. Why is it that you feel it is not necessary when looking at things in the distance, like long distance photography? Do you need me to repeat the question, Alan?
No thanks. I'm having a gin.
Is that the best answer you can give me? I'd have a strong drink at this moment, because this is a very dark time for globeheads like yourself, Alan, because they have someone like me pointing out that they can't understand the very simple nature of reality known as perspective. And they tell me over and over again that it's not a necessary function when mathematically calculating an observation such as a photograph, because it's not a viewing function. And that's correct, Alan. Why is it that you use a calculator that is not accounting for viewing functionality? Why is that?
Because that's not what it was designed to do.
Well, why is it being used in that way then, Alan? Take your time.
Where's the beach?
Excuse me, do you need me to repeat the question? Are you deaf as well as retarded?
Yeah,
Dougal?
repeat it.
Excuse me, Dougal. Do you need me to repeat my question, Dougal?
Repeat it.
Why is the calculator used to account for viewing functionality when it is not designed to account for viewing functionality? It is a removal from a viewing function. So why would someone like Rumpus use that calculation to account for viewing functionality? That's the second time I've said it, and I'm met with silence.
I just drinking my gin.
That's because you're an idiot. Yeah? You're a retard, Alan. You are a complete retard. Maybe we can ask Wiggles. Wiggles, why is it that the calculation that's being used is not a function of viewing?
Sick and tired looking at your keyboard, Wiggles.
To be honest, like, you're raising a lot of good points here. Like, I honestly am having trouble with these questions that you're putting. They're really making me think hard about what I've been taught, man. I don't know, man, Nathan. Like, I want to apologize yesterday or the other day for freaking out like I did. That was very inappropriate of me.
Not at all, man. You're finding out the world's flat, Wiggles.
I might, man. Like, can I do so? I can do a screen share. I'll show you. Like, I didn't account for angular adjustment on my calculator.
We know.
Oh, you know.
Yeah, we know. That's why we ripped you a new asshole.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was painful, but I think, man, going through a lot. Plus, it's gonna be. Just wanted to. I want to apologize, right? Like, I looked into what you guys were talking about with this rate of angular size and how that affects what we see on the horizon. I really wasn't giving your discovery the magnitude it deserves. Like flat earthers are all as dumb as a post and ignorant as pigs. The reason most of the human population thinks Earth is round is because it is. Go past grade 10 geometry, Nathan, and then we can talk. Until then, you empty-headed twats aren't worth my time or any scientist's time. Us globies have all passed grade 10 geometry. It wasn't hard. Try it again, Nathan. Nathan and friends, I believe
I don't
in
care
you
about
guys.
your education. That's why you're dumb, because you're educated.
You done?
You fucking going. You thought I thought the Earth was flat. It's fucking round, man.
Can you not swear, please, Wiggles?
I wanted to do a proper goodbye.
Don't swear.
That's my goodbye. Goodbye, Nathan.
Goodbye.
Yeah, so
Bye-bye.
yeah, what you also confessed is that something we already knew. Your calculations don't account for the obvious and observable reality we are faced with the moment we open our eyes, and that is there is an angular size change at distance. Something we absolutely unequivocally knew you hadn't accounted for, Wiggles. Nice that, like the rest of the Globehead idiots, that are either trying to deceive people or genuinely stupid, like Alan, otherwise known as Dougal. Otherwise known as Dougal because he's a retard and doesn't understand the very obvious and observable reality we are faced with every time we open our eyes, which is that things get smaller in the distance, don't they, Alan? Do I need to give you the cows example again, Alan?
No, I want you to give me the official explanation for why they're not accounting for it.
I couldn't care less. Doesn't make any difference to me.
You
Why
don't know
isn't totally irrelevant. The why doesn't matter. The fact that they don't account for it is all I have to point out. You telling me to give you their motivation is absolutely ridiculous. Their motivation could be totally nefarious. They could just be trolling the living daylights out of retards like you, Alan.
Give me the official explanation for why they are not accounting for it.
I have no idea. What I know is how they don't do it, and how they do it is by removing you from the observation. They take it... Rumpus said it to you. It's not performing a viewing function. And that's exactly what we do when we press the button on a camera. We view something. Yet they have removed you from that viewing function and put it in the third person, the orthographic view. That's why you can see the observer on screen every single time they show us their example. The observer's on screen because you're no longer looking from the point of view of the observer. So by removing your position from the actual observation, they negate the need to reduce the size of things like mountains, i.e. reduce for angular size.
Listen, stop sidetracking. Answer the
It's
question.
not sidetracking. I'll assert it again. What they do is they remove you from the actual observation. So the calculation you use is not a viewing function, as Rumpus pointed out. However, it is used continually to account for viewing things, photographs, a two-position system of observer and target. They add a third in so that they can keep the sizes the same and call it curvature. It's just a magic trick, Alan. A complete lie.
Right.
Well, still didn't hear official explanation for why they're not accounting.
I am not them. I am not lying to you. I don't care what the official explanation is for why they are lying to retards like you who buy it and swallow it whole. That's your business to find out why they're lying to you. I don't know why Mick West has removed you from the observation, put you at a third position so that you have the same sizes of everything. Everything becomes equidistant. The target and the observer become equidistant when you put yourself in a third position and claim it's not a viewing function calculation. Well, we're viewing things here, Alan, and that's what it's being used for. And every person who's ever compared it to a perspective view, i.e. photograph, is a liar or an idiot. They've been fooled by the people who make this calculation, fooled into believing that a convergence point is where boats go over a curve, and it's nonsense. It's just perspective.
Why do you think it's not included?
So that they can fool retards like you into thinking they live on a sphere Earth. How many times have I got to say it? They have co-opted perspective and called it curvature. They do it to fool you. You're still buying it. We've spotted how the magic trick works and we no longer buy it. It's as simple as that. And we're going to highlight time and time again to people like you or anyone who will listen that what you're seeing is not curvature. What you're seeing is perspective in action. If you account for an angular size change on a flat plane, you come out for the same exact measurements as the bullshit curve calculator that presupposes R. So it's time to make your choice. Do you choose a presuppositional R value, which ignores the very real nature of perspective, or a flat plane calculation that accounts for perspective? That's what we deal with in everyday life. No one will deny that things get smaller into the distance. They do. And yet you, globeheads, want to accept and defend the fact that your calculations do not account for it. And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the audience for tuning in. If you hated the show, you know what to do, but if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!